We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. And this is Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Bridge. In our headlines, IMF Board schedules Friday, January 19th to decide on Ghana's fate in relation to its latest disbursement under the extended credit facility. Details as Finance Minister Ofata describes debt restructuring deal with external creditors as major turning point. Also, Works and Housing Minister rubbishes claims there is a grand conspiracy to sell off official residence of late Justice Samuel Mafusau, insisting ongoing redevelopment of prime areas is to provide accommodation for a growing number of civil servants. And Adansi Asokwa MP Katie Hammond extends disqualification application to all three contenders following earlier failed attempt to disqualify his main contender as he escalates petition to the National Appeals Committee of the MPP, insisting they are not eligible to contest the race.
Go to ask them if they know the constituency. Go to ask them what is it that they know about the constituency.
Our Joy News checks have revealed that the residence of the late Superior Court Justice Mafusau remains unoccupied due to redevelopment. Now, a statement from the Works and Housing Ministry denied claims of colluding with the former Chief Justice Enin Yeboah to sell the land. Instead, the government says it is carrying out a redevelopment program of prime government land under a policy which dates back to 1992. Joy News Blessed Sugar visited the redevelopment property, which, when completed, will serve as a residential facility for ministers of state, workers of the judicial service, and other government officials.
Brick and mortar, the key ingredients giving life to government's redevelopment program. These men at work have a simple task: to optimize government's prime lands, especially this building at Laboni in Accra. Although government says it aims to provide more accommodation for the ever-growing number of public servants, concerns are emerging about transparency and the possibility of a land grab. At the work site, I met Jeffrey Tete, spokesperson of the Coalition of Law Associations, the allodial owners of this prime land.
This is a very beautiful idea, which has been in place for quite some time. I am told since 1992. Unfortunately, the problem we have with this particular redevelopment scheme that government is undertaking is that once they develop one or two of the units, the rest of the whole estate is sold out to private hands. And this is where the issues come up. We want government to come clear, and our call now as Alodia owners, since we gave out the land, the people of like give out the land to government for housing purposes for government officials. We want to get an audit. We want government to come up with an audit of all government facilities, talking about housing facilities. We want an audit so that we will know how many government has redeveloped, how much has been given to private hands. And if they say it is not in private hands, then together with government, we can go around and check it. And I'm happy the media is doing this. We all go around, tell you the story, you get to know, you let the whole world know what is happening so that government will come clear.
Our next stop was the Roman Reach community. This property, according to government sources, used to house former senior members of the judiciary. Assembly member for the area, Adam Yusuf, tells Joy News, although the initiative is laudable, it should not be handed over to private individuals after its development.
Property. One tenant, and that tenant was a prison officer. And then now, as you can see, we have about 6 units property here, which can house about 3 directors from the same unit or from a different government unit, and which is laudable because the land size of this area over the years was like an acre, but you have a single house, a very small, tiny house in the building. But now, if it's redeveloped, you can take more people, yeah. Unlike other places, it takes about 8, but this one is a single unit.
Wow. And would help, definitely.
This thing will really help.
Except that you fear that it shouldn't go into private hands.
That is our fear, because as you can see at the other side, we have a lot of private developers also pursuing to grab those properties from the state. And to me, I don't advise that the state should lose it to the private developer, because they will in turn use it for business and make millions of dollars out of the business, whilst the state officials will be struggling.
This housing unit you see here at Laboni, one of the prime areas within the Greater Accra region, forms part of government's redevelopment policy. The Works and Housing Ministry explains that it forms part of a broader policy to optimize the use of prime state lands. Upon completion, this very facility with work underway will serve as the primary residence for senior state officials, ministers, superior court justices and other officials of government and the civil service. Blessed Sugan reporting for Joy News, Laboni, Accra.
Ghana's fate of receiving $600 million from the International Monetary Fund, being the second tranche of the $3 billion external credit facility from the Bretton Woods institution, still hangs in a balance as the board of the IMF has set Friday 19th January 2024 to take a decision. Now, this will be a day after the initially scheduled date of 18th January, after Ghana secured a deal with its external creditors. But what has resulted in the fund taking this decision despite the country reaching a deal with its external bilateral creditors? WFA has details.
The executive board of the IMF should have met this Thursday, January 18, 2024. However, Joy Business is learning that some of the executive board members have made a case for the meeting to be pushed a day forward. This is to give them more time to review Ghana's documents submitted by the IMF staff. Therefore, the change in date has nothing to do with Ghana not meeting the conditions for the board to meet on its program, or concerns about the deal reached with its creditors. We also understand that the executive board members need at least 3 days to review the country's documents, and since Monday is a holiday in USA, the pushback was necessary. This is because the holiday would mean that the mandatory 3 days will be cut by a day. Sources close to the fund have told Joy Business that everything is in place for the executive board to meet and carry out Ghana's first review under the fund program this Friday. This should mean that by next Wednesday, about $600 million should hit Bank of Ghana's account. That is, if the country is able to pass this first review by the IMF on how it has fared under the fund program.
But as we await a decision from the IMF board, Ghana's Finance Minister Ken Ofata is describing the deal with external bilateral creditors as a major turning point for the economy. Mr. Ofata's excitement comes after the country reached terms for restructuring the $5.4 billion debt last Friday. Speaking on a yet-to-be-aired edition of PM Express Business Edition, Mr. Ofata says this deal will help fast-track the process of reducing Ghana's debt to sustainable levels.
That we were all negotiating in good faith, looking at the country coming back quicker than later. So it's a good time, it's historic, and we need to acknowledge that ours then, as a government, Ministry of Finance, is to work in good faith with these investors.
You tried to explain to me that yes, the negotiations hasn't ended, even though there's been some preliminary deal reached with them. It means that you could still continue engaging them and maybe pushing further?
With regards to the OCC? Oh, definitely, because the memorandum of understanding has to be signed, and that then will encapsulate, issues that we need to think a bit more deeply about to make sure that it is successful. But we will, at every turn, we have been victorious, and the country has moved forward, and that will continue.
Ghana's biggest hurdle in all of this is the restructuring of its external commercial debt, specifically the Eurobonds. Government has submitted a proposal to the creditors, but there is not clear progress made. Now, lead data analyst here at Joy News, Isaac Kofia J, joins me in studio with more on this. Kofi, first of all, let's understand the progress we've made on this.
So the progress so far has been made at the bilateral side. So the external debt restructuring that we are considering is about the bilateral and the commercial side. The bilateral side is where we owe our creditors to the tune of some $5.4 billion that we've earmarked for restructuring. Now, if you look at it, the bilateral, debt that we owe our creditors, that's $5.4 billion. What we are trying to restructure will be about 27% of the entire debt earmark. So you realize that the main problem is not the bilateral, because the bilateral comprises just 27% of the debt, total debt earmarked for restructuring. Now, the problem has to do with the external commercial debt, which is the Eurobond guys, where the debt earmarked for restructuring, Kojo, is about $14.6 billion that we are talking about.
For Eurobond market.
Exactly. And if you look at this $14.6 billion, that is where we've submitted a proposal asking our creditors to, give us a haircut of up to 40% on the principal and up to 5% on the interest. This, many have said, is going to be a bit difficult. Not even a bit difficult. It's really, really going to be a hurdle to cross, because most of the blue chip investors who bought these bonds have actually offloaded them. And you are looking around 73% of the total debt earmarked for restructuring. So if you do a simple analysis, you realize that most of the external debt that we are seeking to restructure comes from the commercial side, where we owe, or we've earmarked, about $14.6 billion for restructuring. And it's proven difficult at the moment. Definitely, the assurance that we've been able to get from the official creditors, which is the bilateral guys, will be enough to give us, or to unlock that $600 million. But going forward, we need to make sure we bring other creditors, such as the commercial guys, which we owe them about $14.6 billion. So one side of the burden almost lifted, 27%, but about 73% of the external debt restructuring has not been tackled yet. Or we've submitted proposals, but we've actually not received the needed responses that we are getting.
But we're looking at the 600 million. Yeah. Which of them affects or opens the door for us to get a 600 million?
So currently, the 5.4 billion that we've targeted, or the assurances we receive from the bilateral guys, will be enough, according to the finance minister. In his words, he says it will be enough to get that additional 600 billion. But that will not depend on the finance minister just saying it is enough, or the staff level. It depends on the IMF staff, executive board, looking at the assurances, the magnitude of the assurance, and pass a judgment and say the magnitude is enough, the restructuring or the assurance we were looking for is enough. So now we can go ahead to unlock. So it's not cast in stone yet. They would have to take a critical look at it and pass a judgment as to whether these assurances that we've received from the bilateral guys is enough and sufficient to unlock that 600 million.
So we expect that the board will come out with a statement whether we are getting it or not on Friday.
Exactly.
Interesting. So what does this really mean for the economy of Ghana? Let's bring in Dean of the School of Business, University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, on this. Prof, grateful for joining us. Now, the finance minister says the agreement with the external creditors is a major turning point. Is that the same meaning you get looking at the fact that our biggest hurdle is the Eurobond creditors?
Well, I think his statement should be taken in context. He has been struggling to get this assurance for a very long time. We had the first tranche in May, and since that time we couldn't get the second tranche. So if the assurance given by the creditors will convince the IMF to release the second tranche, that is a big development for him. But that does not solve our fiscal challenges. That does not solve our debt burden. Remember, the 600 that comes is an addition to our existing debt. That is the implication. So from his point of view, that is a big issue. But for the economy, it's just to create the opportunity to make use of the 600 million to protect the currency somehow, to shore up the reserve and the balance of payment issues. But that does not remove the debt burden that we have. That does not actually remove the slow growth that we are experiencing. That does not create opportunity for the teeming young people that we are dealing with. that does not actually deal with the issue of corruption, and that does not deal with the broader issue of consumers not having to spend to spur up growth across the economy. That does not actually deal with the disruptive economic environment that we have.
Okay.
So that is a context within which we need to discuss this.
But should I be happy or worried that the IMF board would probably agree in giving us this $600 million?
I think the IMF was just looking for assurance. They are not actually looking for the real agreement to give us the 600 million. So this assurance that have been secured is enough to trigger IMF approval, and that is the indication. So I'm
looking at the impact. As an ordinary Ghanaian, should I be happy or worried about this 600 million coming in?
No, I'm not sure ordinary Ghanaians should jubilate over anything. In any case, we have secured 300 billion already. It should come in tranches, and something is hindering that release. That thing is removed, and the money is coming. It's not coming to, bring about development, so to say. What will bring development is something that will affect poverty reduction, is something that will affect job creation, so to say. But that would not do the magic for the economy. Remember, what will change the economy in the IMF thinking is about $3 billion.
Okay.
It's not about $600 million.
Okay.
But it's only good that it comes to protect the currency somehow.
Okay. All right. Grateful for joining us here. Professor John Gachi is Dean, School of Business, UCC. Now, there's more Katie Hammond has added one of his contenders who believes, the fear exhibited by Katie Hammond is an indication that he has lost the elections. Now, the Member of Parliament for Adansi Asokwa in the Ashanti region, Katie Hammond, who is seeking re-election, has escalated his attempt to have his contenders disqualified from the race to the National Appeals Committee of MPP and extended it to all the three contenders. This follows an earlier failed attempt at the regional level led by 14 executives backing his bid to expunge his main contender, Samuel Bful, from the contest during the vetting process. Mr. Hammond now claims facts available to him indicates that all his three opponents are not eligible and must not be allowed to contest him. We can now listen to him in his interview with my colleague Nana Boachi Yadom after his petition was rejected at the regional level.
Petition I have cited is that you are seeking the disqualification of some of your opponents. Is that true?
Go to ask them if they know the constituency. Go to ask them what is it that they know about the constituency.
Let's now bring in Samuel Mbro of our political desk on the latest petition filed at the national level by Katie Hammond. Sami, we know the petition has now been extended to include all three aspirants contesting him. Break the allegations on each of these aspirants for us.
Kojo Brace, we know that during the vetting process, Katie Hammond made an attempt to disqualify Samuel Bful Dakwa. His claim was that he's not known in the constituency and he's not eligible to contest. So he failed in that bid, and then now he has extended it to the national level of the party. And the three aspirants are Kwabena Asamoah, also have Samuel Bful Dakwa, Enoch Boache Champon. So the ground for his appeal is that the three individuals do not qualify to contest him within the meaning of Article 12, 4, and 7 of the MPP Constitution, which basically talks about the eligibility and members in good standing provision for aspirants. So with respect to Samuel Bful, who is seen as his main contender, the specific allegation is that after he lost the primaries in the previous elections, he came and deceived them allegedly and took the donated pickup away and never returned. They are further saying that apart from that, he has not been part of party activities since they lost or he lost the primaries. Another issue they are raising against Samreboi Bful is that it appears that Samreboi Bful belongs to a group of people who never associated themselves with the Adanso Asokwa MPP and never contributed anything to the constituency, but only showed up when there are parliamentary primaries. The second person is Kwabena Asamoah. In his case, the 14 constituency executives back in KT Hammond are claiming that Mr. Asamoah has never been part of any constituency activities and has never also supported the party in any form. And that's why they don't want him to be part of the contest. They are also alleging that he is more or less a roving aspirant who contested the primaries at the lower Achim constituency in the eastern region in the last primary. So on that grounds, he should not be allowed to contest in that constituency. The last person is Enoch Boache Echampong. And it said, or the allegation against him is that he refused to honor the invitation sent to him to appear before the constituency disciplinary committee members to explain certain activities and pronouncements in the constituency that he made without the consent of the constituency executives. And also, the claim is that he has never been part of any constituency activity and has never made any contribution toward the development of the party. So they are telling the appeals committee that any document from him indicating that he has contributed to the party, making him in good standing or making him to have a good standing to contest the election is false and forged. Simply, they say they do not know Enoch Boache Echampong. So these are the specific allegations the 14 executives back in KT Hammond are alleging. We know that the and one of the aspirants actually appeared before the committee. So they say they are waiting for the outcome of that report from the committee. But we know that on Wednesday, the National Executive Committee of the NPP will be meeting to finalize decisions for the parliamentary primaries slated for the 27th of January. We know they have already done some provisional balloting, awaiting the confirmation from the National Executive Committee.
Okay, all right then. Now, the hearing of this petition by the National Appeals Committee began today. Let's talk to Samuel Bful, one of the contenders of KT Hammond. Mr. Bful, grateful for joining us. Now, first off, how do you respond to all of these allegations by KT Hammond?
Good evening, Bless, and good evening to our viewers. Yes, as I'm a law-abiding member of the New Patriotic Party, I was given invitation to join the Appeals Committee today to respond to the issue that has been raised by the Sitting Member of Parliament for Adanse Asokwa, KT Hammond. I did so, and the issue were not too different from what came up when we met in Ashanti region.
Okay.
When I went to the vet in Ashanti region, he came up with some allegations, charges against me. And when I provided my responses with evidence, those allegations were thrown overboard and I was cleared to contest. And then we balloted. I'm the number 4. So just yesterday that I also got an invitation that a petition has been sent again to the National Appeals Board. It's funny, it's very interesting. Why am I saying so? If you read the directive that really came up with the elections, it said that those who have been disqualified would have the right to appeal to the Appeals Board. It is not a ground for petition to be sent. If anybody has got a petition, you send it to the vetting committee. And once a decision is made about that, that is it. The appeals, if you read the directive very well, but
Mr. Bful, I mean, they've made several allegations against you that you are a roving candidate. You provided them a pickup, you came for it. You have not been supporting the constituency. How do you respond to all of these allegations leveled against you?
Good. So those allegations were responded to at the vetting. One, when I contested, I had a pickup that I used for my campaign. After we had the election on 20th of June 2020, I lost the elections. After losing the elections, we were launching the constituency campaign for the general elections. I went there and donated 10,000 Ghana cedis to the party for the campaign of Honorable KT Hammond, and then donated 200 T-shirts to the constituency. In addition to that, I told them that there's a pickup I use for my campaign. I've lost though, but I need to make it available for the campaign. So I said that they can use the pickup once the elections are over. Then I come for it. When the elections were over, I went for the pickup in April 2021.
Okay.
The pickup was not even in good condition, so I called the constituency chairman and informed him that, why, let us attend to the pickup. Let's send it to the mechanic shop for a thorough work to be done on it. Then the constituency chairman directed one police station youth organizer, Alex, and the first vice to bring the pickup to Kumasi. So it wasn't like I even went there for myself. They drove the car to the mechanic shop in Kumasi, and that's been there since. So the letter, when you read it, it suggests that I brought a pickup 2018. Okay. I lost the elections, and then I came back for the pickup. No, I used the pickup for my own contest, for my own campaign. And after I lost the election, I made the pickup available to the party.
So you mean these allegations are not factual?
They are not. And again, about the fact that I have never contributed anything to the party, they are not seen around. The person who is being accused that he bought a car and took it back is the same person who is being told that he has never contributed anything to the party.
Okay.
The two allegations don't reconcile.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Grateful to you.
In terms of that, I provided evidence as to the support I've given to the party.
And what did the committee tell you?
The committee is supposed to come with report, which I don't know yet. But what transpired, I was asked to go and control with the work I'm doing. So I'm sure that there's no harm, there's nothing to worry about.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. Now, to other stories now. Chief of Army Staff, Major General Thomas Opon Pepra is responding to rumors that he has turned down an appointment as the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS. According to the highly ranked Army officer, the rumors continue that his refusal to accept the position of CDS has stalled a major shakeup the government wants to undertake in the Ghana Armed Forces leadership. Major General Opon Pepra is therefore calling on the public to disregard such claims, which he believes are orchestrated to taint his hard-earned reputation.
My remarks, I want to say something. Usually I'm somebody who doesn't like talking, but there's a need for me to, this morning, clarify issues. The name Opon Pepra is tearing stomachs and heads and creating fear in people. I don't understand why. And so I've been attacked. And they keep attacking me. Even this morning, just like before I got here, a publication was sent to me. They call it Oprah News or something like that, where it's being indicated that I have refused to accept the appointment of CDS, and as a result, there's a stop in the military shakeup. I've been taken to Juju people and all that. We have pictures of it. In fact, it was one of the military police gentlemen who brought the picture. But I'm still standing here. I'm not dead, and I will not die. If you can't cope up with what I do, just sit down and zip up. That is all. You don't need to write all those things. They've made me an Achim. I'm not an Achim. I'm a Bunu. I'm very proud from Doma Hinkro. Yeah, we speak there, bear, bear, bear. Yes, I love it. Can't change me. All right? And you see, for the past 4 years, together, teamwork, we have achieved so much. And people are jealous of us. That is all. I didn't do it. We did it as an army. Together with my staff officers and everyone. Commanding officers going to Bondasi and adding to whatever we are doing over there. It is teamwork. It is not me or Opon Pepra, so don't attack me.
You're still watching Joe News Prime. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Please stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, the Cybersecurity Authority has raised alarm over a sharp rise in job scam incident across the country. In a public alert statement, the CSA stated that it has received at least 15 reports through the cybersecurity incident reporting point of contact, with victims losing over 124,000 cedis. According to the CSA, citizens ought to beware of unsolicited messages offering job opportunities, as these scammers tend to pose as recruiters to fleece unsuspecting people. The CSA added that people must be skeptical of advertisements that promise high-paying jobs that require minimal work. Let's share with you some of the details of this. It says a new job scam approach has resulted in over 15 cases, with victims losing more than 124,000 over the past few weeks. Now, unsolicited messages are sent by scammers through SMS, emails, WhatsApp, and Telegram. Scammers pose as recruiters, offering remote, high-paying jobs for digital tasks such as liking social media posts and giving referrals to friends. Interested individuals are then recruited via a link in the unsolicited message. It says victims sign up and complete tasks for low initial payment, usually less than 200 cedis. Scammers then request cash deposit for more tasks, and once payment is made, the victims are locked out of their account and lose contact with these scammers. They add that beware of unsolicited job offers, be skeptical of high-paying, minimal work opportunities, watch out for poor grammar and spelling mistakes in job ads, verify job ads directly with official company sources, and avoid sharing personal or financial information without employer legitimacy. So you need to be aware of all of these. Now, to other stories. Ghana risks losing its human resources to HIV and AIDS if nothing is done about the increase in cases of infections. That's the warning from the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Cheme Etuahene, following revelations that girls are 6 times at risk of contracting HIV. According to data from the Global AIDS Monitoring and UNAIDS 2022 report, a lot more teenagers, particularly girls, are increasingly contracting HIV and AIDS infections in West and Central Africa as compared to other parts of the world. Now, to check the trend, Dr. Etuahene is urging the public to be vigilant and adopt responsible lifestyles. We'll be hearing from him shortly, but first, here is Emefa Etiamwa Eli's report from a conversation with UNICEF's Chief of Health in Africa, Alexander Boone.
Sharing details of the data with members of the African Media Network for the Promotion of Health and Environment, REMAPSEN, at a workshop in Lomé, UNICEF's Chief of Health in Africa, Alexander Boone, said despite advances in recent years, particularly in reducing HIV transmission from mother to child, attention and support for children and adolescents living with HIV remains insufficient. Alexander believes this is among the myriad of other factors aggravating the prevalence of cases, particularly among adolescent girls in Africa. He said girls are at a greater risk of contracting new infections compared to boys.
In some countries where the incidence and the prevalence of HIV is on the rise, we have noticed that, unfortunately, the majority of newly infected people were among adolescents, and particularly adolescent girls. And as we showed it on the graphic, the risk of adolescent girls to contract HIV is pretty much 6 times higher than the equivalent of age of the male adolescent. And that is probably related to many things and many circumstances or behaviors, or either social related to poverty, perhaps related to the circumstances where these adolescents live.
Also among the regional challenges compounding the threat to adolescent health include limited engagement of community health workers in HIV and AIDS service delivery, as well as low availability of adolescent and youth-friendly health services in countries recording higher figures. According to the Global AIDS Monitoring and UN AIDS 2022 estimates, West and Central Africa is one of the regions in the world where children and adolescents are most affected by HIV, putting them just behind East and Southern Africa.
We know that girls in general are much more sensitive to sexual transmitted infection, including HIV, than boys. The intergenerational sex is also one of the contributing factors. When a young adolescent or an adolescent girl gets into sexual intercourses with older men, there is a higher risk of transmission as well of sexual transmitted infections, including HIV.
According to the report, prevention of mother-to-child transmission has remained at 65% coverage on the region since 2017. 7 out of 10 children don't have access to HIV treatment in West and Central Africa. Pediatric treatment coverage is at a low 35% compared to 73% for adults. Also, there's been only 25% coverage for early childhood diagnosis, with 3 out of 10 children born to HIV-positive mothers tested before their first 2 months of life. Regarding early diagnosis of HIV in infants, Ghana is among 8 countries to achieve above regional average of 25%, well below the target of 95% in the continent. In a clarion call to action, UNICEF enjoins all and sundry to accelerate the pace towards an AIDS-free generation in West and Southern Africa. The Children-Centered Humanitarian Organization believes eradicating AIDS starts with children. Each country must do everything possible to create a world in which children and adolescents are assured of getting the support they need to fight HIV and AIDS, so we can deliver on our collective promise to enable an AIDS-free generation by 2030. Amofa Ewenam Atiamwa Ellis reports for Joy News. Lomé.
Now, some residents of Samreboi in the Western region are shocked to learn the devastating health effect of illegal mining after the first public community viewing of Joy News' documentary Poison for Gold, produced by Erastus Asaridonko. In a town surrounded by degraded forest and a heavily polluted Tano River, residents are demanding more from chiefs and community leaders in enforcing laws and leading advocacy to stop illegal mining. The Poison for Gold community tour is part of the USAGM Media Project on Nature Crimes in Ghana, supported by the U.S. Department of State, Bureau of Oceans, and the International Environmental and Scientific Affairs, Office of Conservation and Water. It is driven by the multimedia group through its diverse media platforms. Here's a report from the first stop at Samreboi in the Western region.
Samreboi, a town whose local economy is controlled by timber and farming, mainly cocoa, is threatened by illegal mining. The devastation caused to West Forest reserves like the Tano Nimri Reserve featured prominently in Joy News' recent documentaries. In Erastus Asaridonko's Poison for Gold documentary, the health effects of the contaminants in the polluted Tano River featured prominently.
In face samples that were taken from River Tano at the Dantano area there, I thought I was just doing something simple. But when I realized the levels of mercury in the fish samples, I became so alarmed. I looked at the levels in muscle, the fish muscles, the head, the gills, the eye, and the bones. The highest concentration was in the gills. The bones were also there. So since then, I have stopped eating the head of the fish as well as the bones. I only eat the muscles, and that is it.
The multimedia VOA USAGM Poison for Good community tour, which started in Samreboi, is aimed at reaching remote communities affected by nature crimes with the tree version of the documentary. The over 100 residents who watched the Poison for Good documentary, produced by Erastus Asaridonko, were shocked at the findings.
It is painful to learn it is possible that after a 9-month pregnancy journey, contamination from galamsey can cause my child to be deformed. It's sad. To give birth to a child with one leg and a lot of complications, I am sad.
While some of the participants blamed the chiefs for the galamsey menace, others blamed a lack of political will in fighting the canker.
Government should take bigger blame for the galamsey menace. We've all seen the damage caused by Akonta mining in this town. Who is Akonta mining? Is he not from the NPP government? If he doesn't have the power, can he do what he has done in this town?
There was a debate between participants and some chiefs present on their role in fighting the menace.
I say opinionless, your meeting. say,
We, the opinion leaders, recently decided to fight mining in the Tano Numri forest, but the paramount chief of Enchi wanted the Chinese to mine. What can I say as a sub-chief? It's not on my land.
China for a bampatama in so much Uncle Gunsa. Why
We all know the Chinese miners who come here, slaughter chicken for rituals and pour libation. Some of us have thought the Chinese are customs, so the power we had on our land is gone. Some of our leaders tell us to vacate our land if we cannot live with galamsey. If I don't give out my land, they dig around it and take over. What can we do? The land belongs to Nananom. If somebody comes with a license to mine and the chiefs don't give their permission, they cannot mine. So I will suggest that chiefs who allow galamsey on their land should be arrested.
Dr. Yusuf Tijani, a medical doctor with Samatex Hospital in Samreboi, who has been seeing a number of patients affected by ailments linked to irresponsible mining, called for a serious view of galamsey across the country.
To destroying not just lands and water bodies, but leave the environment contaminated to the extent that it affects unborn children. I think that we must be very sensitive and fight together as a community to bring this galamsey menace to a stop.
Some preferred solutions to illegal mining while commending the poison for good community tar.
I'm going to be agent of change. Brunisi knowledge is power.
GJ Journalist of the Year, Erastus Asaridonko, noted he is excited about the opportunity to connect with communities affected by the activities of illegal miners.
The reaction of the people shows how concerned they are after watching how irresponsible mining that surrounds this town is having a negative effect on their lives on a daily basis. And I know that this is going to be the engagement, the community discussion and debate in the coming days. And so the Poison for Gold community tour is not ending at Samreboi, it's just begun. This is the first stop. We are coming to a town near you in the coming days.
Reporting for Joy News from Samreboi, Kwesi Debra.
All right, let's do showbiz now. And Jacqueline is here. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Coach Grace. How are you?
I'm well. Let's see, what do we have today?
Well, I'm back again with another Guinness World Record attempt. Now, remember that feeling when you're so engrossed in a book that the world around you fades away? Well, let's talk about taking you to the extreme. A Ghanaian man, Benedict Mawena, is attempting to break and set a new record of 216 hours for the longest reading aloud by an individual. The initial record was set by Rizbai Isakov in 124 hours, 15 minutes.
T22, Rizbai Isakov from Benedict Mawena, a determined Ghanaian, is warming up to challenge Isakov's record from 24th March to 1st April 2024. Mawena intends to read about 100 books. He revealed that this challenge will help cultivate reading habits in children.
Okay, when we say read aloud marathon, it simply refers to reading a text out loud. And the text must not be a less than 2-minute content. That's what qualifies it to be called what? A text. So we're going for a number of days using that.
Okay, how many days?
You're going on a 9 days.
Which is how many hours now?
216 hours. That is the case. Reading is an issue in our place. Then reading is an issue everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it upon myself to go on a readathon to inculcate back into society the reading skills. Because if adult children are seeing the adult reading, definitely they're going to embark on that skill. That's why I went on this marathon.
Adding a unique twist to his challenge, Benedict plans to put Ghana on the map by incorporating books written in various Ghanaian languages.
Make sure that 80% or 90% of what I read that day is solely Ghanaian. I'll be reading books in our local dialect as well. That is the tree, the Ewe and Co.
Oh, different languages.
Yes, I'll be reading books in English and as well as read a book in French.
Okay, so you are fluent in, how many languages are you fluent in? Yeah, because I'm interested in how many languages, because you said Chi.
I'm fluent in Tree, both the Asante and the Kiapim one. So I'll be reading books from
and we have Fanti.
Yes,
too.
but I can't read the Fanta, I can read the Asante and the Kiapim Tree.
Okay.
And I'm being trained on how to read the Ewe. So it's become a reading books in the Ghana and the Ewe and the Ewe language and the
Benedict stands alongside many others, all driven by the determination to carve their names in the Guinness Book of Records. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
Follows the successful completion of the domestic debt exchange program in 2023.
Well, I'm still searching for that record to break. Now, many of the songs lingering in our minds nowadays originate from TikTok, whether we love or dislike the platform. Now, TikTok undeniably is shaping a new era of music hits that stays with us consistently. Its capacity to propel artists to fame has revolutionized the game for numerous emerging musicians.
Well, that's how we wrap it up, but I want to say hi to Justice A. Newton of Fresh. He's written something about me on Facebook. Well, I know about it already, so it's no news. All right, there's more news on myjoyonline.com. Up next is Prime Business with Emma Davis. Good evening.